First of all, I want to welcome all the representatives here to our River Valley Regional Council Legislation Roundtable discussion. Also, too, I want to apologize to you. I wish that we could meet in person like we did year before last, but a little word COVID came about and has created everything, turned the world upside down for us and everybody around us. But I want to say thank y'all for taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with us, to come in on this, our first Zoom meeting, legislation meeting on the Zoom. But I do want to say thank you. And what I want to do is, no further ado, is first of all, our guest here is Carvel. He's over there from Equipment County, a chairman there. And Carvel, I'll let you introduce yourself, and then we'll go get started if you like.
Well, I'll give you the $5 that I owe you. You already did my introduction. Thank you, sir.
Representative, what we're going to do is, let you introduce yourself and what district you represent, and maybe the counties, and tell us a little something about what's going on that you have special interest in, maybe some of the committees you serve on. We'd like to have that because when we make contact with our representative, we'd like to know maybe you could give us some guidance on certain areas that we have an interest in. You want to start with Representative Shopus?
I'll be happy to start. Randy, this of course has been a challenging year. I represent District 138, and that district includes parts of Sumter County, all of Sly, all of Marion, and all of Chattahoochee County. And I'm proud to say that I represent over 90% of Fort Benning in Chattahoochee County. I was made chairman of the Small Business Development Committee this year, and I'm really, really enjoying that committee. We have actually in membership, we're the second largest committee. Appropriations is number 1, we're number 2. Rules and Economic Development is number 3, and number 4 is Transportation. And I tried to address some of the issues that small business faces on a day-to-day basis, and then we had testimonials from small business owners to talk about how the COVID affected them. And we did a wide range of industries. We did automobile dealers. We did convenience stores. We did hospitality, restaurants, which was devastated during the COVID. We had some of the other industries was real estate. We even had angel investors come and speak to us, the apartment industry. A lot of different industries, and they came and they spoke to us and told us what some of the issues were that they were faced with, how they coped with those issues, and what they see coming out of the pandemic, what they saw that we did right, what they saw that we did wrong, and then where do we go from here. And as we all know, Gerald and Noel will agree to this, you know, our economy was literally shut down. We turned the faucet off. And so it was a man-made economic downturn. You know, that's why the big claims for unemployment, everything else, and all the businesses that were not deemed essential had to close down. I have to congratulate Speaker Ralston for holding the line, because we wanted to go back in May and finish the budget. And in his wisdom, he realized that that was too short a time frame to see the true economic picture of the state. So he went up against the governor and the lieutenant governor and pushed the start date for finishing the session to June 15th. And at that time, we were able to see improvements in the economy, and the dire straits that were predicted in March, either they did not materialize or they were short-lived. And so when we went back in June, it was somewhat of a brighter picture. We took a lot of precautions. Not only in June, but in January when we went back, we did saliva tests twice a week. during session. And then the economic outlook improved. Currently, our biggest problem is the unemployment benefits that were, I think, overly generous. And the latest numbers that I have, and I got those from the governor Monday a week ago, was that we have 244,000 job openings in the state of Georgia. 244,000. And we need people to come back to work. We need people to realize that with the vaccine and the crowd immunity, that the storm of COVID-19 is nearing its end, and trying to get back to a little bit of normality. But as far as what we see locally, and I can speak for Sumter, Sly, Marion, and Chattahoochee counties, we're digging ourselves out. We're coming back to life. I went to graduation this past Saturday at Georgia Southwestern State University, and in the dome during graduation, there was just a handful of people that still wore masks, and you don't know what the underlying reasons are. They may have an illness or something, and so, but I was glad to see it. I see businesses advertising for employees, help wanted signs everywhere, and things are picking up. And from what I understand, our sales tax reports are showing increases, good increases, and so I'll leave it at that. And if y'all have any more specific questions, I'll be happy to respond and let my fellow representatives answer some of the questions dealing with their districts, their respective districts.
All right, Representative Williams.
Turn your mute off.
Mute's on.
Y'all got me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank y'all for allowing us to do this today. Mr. Chokus took a lot of my thunder, and we have a lot going on over here in House District 148. I represent Crisp, Pulaski, Wilcox, and part of South Houston. So I think a common theme in our area is I'm on our hospital board as well. And we've had a hard time, filling positions in the hospital. People are out unemployment, and like Mike was saying, when the governor came out and signed the unemployment, doing away with the lucrative benefit that it is starting next month, hopefully we'll be able to hire some more people to run the hospital. If you don't have CNAs and you don't have people in the hospital taking care of your patients, what do you have? So we've been experiencing problems with that. A lot of help wanted, a lot of the service industry, a lot of the restaurants. I was in one of the local restaurants last week, and the owner came up and told me he had 17 vacancies right now. So if you want to work, you can find a job now. So looking forward to that. Get back going. I mean, I know it was necessary for some people, but guys, we got to get back to work. Our state's got to keep going and growing. And I think we're going to be announced as the best state to do business again. I think it'll be the 9th year in a row. But I want to applaud our government and our legislature, our governor and our speaker for the way they've handled this process with COVID. We kept working. We were safe. We did everything we could for our hospitals. We had our National Guard involved, and kind of like all hands were on deck. Wherever we needed to be, we would go and help. It's an honor for me to serve with distinguished people like Chokus and Gerald Green and Bill Yurda, and the queen of the delegation, Miss Patty Bentley. Enjoy serving with Patty always. And there's a few other things, that we will discuss, I guess, later on. But obviously, we have reapportionment. We'll be dealing with that in October or November. And this is my third year in the legislature, and I've never been through that, but I know Gerald Green and Mike have, being that they're a lot older and wiser maybe. But I'll leave it at that for the time being.
Although you may call on someone else.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Representative Gerald Green, would you introduce yourself and do a good job? Because remember, you taught me high school social studies. Please unmute yourself, Gerald.
You may have to dial *6 to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we got you.
All right. It took me technology is not one of my best traits on that. This is Gerald Green. I'm state representative for District 151, which includes Clay and Quitman and Randolph and Stewart and Webster, Terrell, Early, Calhoun, and part of Dougherty County, just about all of Southwest Georgia there. And I am delighted to be here today to talk to each of you, and at the same time to be talking with my compatriots there. They've been great colleagues. They work hard for their districts, and one of the good things about our area, we all work together. And with saying that, I want y'all to understand that whatever you do in these commissions and whatever you are proposing, hopefully we could do regional cooperation. Regional cooperation for these small counties has got to come. I mean, it's survival time. And one of the things that we are pushing, and I serve on the Rural Development Council, is regional cooperation. Our health facilities, I met day before yesterday with Grady in Atlanta talking about ambulance service. We're down to one ambulance in the county, and when that ambulance is in Dougherty County, we have no ambulance service unless we are which we have depending on Quitman County or Clay County for that help, and they too need that, their ambulances there. Broadband is going to be we put money in the budget this year for broadband, but we're going to have to depend on the federal government and private groups. I met with Windstream week before last, and hopefully, the money that we appropriated is just sort of seed money to get these other groups coming. If nothing else, COVID showed us the need for broadband in rural areas. It was so important in that respect. Education monies were replaced this year. Last year, we had to do some cutting in all areas, but we made sure that the counties were not hurt in the educational areas. We talked with those counties first, talked to them about the percentage we were going to cut, and they said they could handle it. And thank goodness they had CARES money and other monies that they could depend on, and not just state monies. So even though it was an unusual year at the legislature, we still were able to do our job and do it safely, and at the same time to try to deal with issues that keep coming up. I know that down the road we're going to have to do something about the expansion of Medicaid in the state. It is my understanding that our waiver to the federal government was rejected, and they have put something else forth. I don't know what all the details are in that respect. So we've got a lot of things to resolve. Yesterday we did retirement bills to push them on toward an actuarial to study to see if there's going to be cost to the state and how we can best keep our retirement systems going, because that's one of the things that has always helped us to secure good people working for the state of Georgia is through our retirement system. So those are some of the things that's going on. I know I'm leaving out a lot of things, but one of the good things is having people like Noel and like Mike to work with at the legislature who really understand the different issues, and those issues are important as we move forward. So if there are questions, we'll leave it at that because time is zipping on by quicker than I thought.
Well, we thank you, Gerald. We have one other legislator to join us. Bill, would you introduce yourself and tell us some of the committees you're on and some of the things that you're working for your constituents? Yep, you got it. Go ahead, Bill.
I will let you all know, this is Jim. We are recording and we are also editing. So we will cut some of these dead spaces out.
Is it star 5 or star 6? It's like that.
Click it over so we can see if he's there, see if his picture's there. Go across the top.
Yeah, I see him.
Representative Yurda, we cannot hear you yet. Not sure what the issue is with the mic.
I see red again.
Try that. Not yet.
It's on his end. Representative Yurda, would you do star 6?
Well, he made it a computer.
Okay. If you're on your computer, the bottom left, the audio, make sure you're using your computer's microphone and speaker.
And the last thing I can suggest for Representative Yurda is if you log out and try to log back in, sometimes that works. No audio yet. Try it again one more time.
Jim, this is Tanisha. My suggestion might be, he may not have audio on his computer. He may need to call in on his phone if he doesn't have a microphone or speaker attached to his computer.
I think he's at the Capitol. I don't know if they have it. I don't think we have it in our office.
Okay.
CLOB.
Thank you for recognizing the environs, Representative Williams. Representative Yurda, I don't know if you were able to get to your cell phone and use that. You can probably get off of this and we'll hold on and let you log back in via a different device. And then the last option you'd have is the same as Representative Green, the old school telephone. And I will point out to everybody, this is why we're doing this early, just to get these.
We are smart.
Jim, you want to go ahead and proceed until Representative Yard get online?
I think that sounds like a good idea, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Cardell, you have any questions particularly, any one of the representatives starting up?
I actually do. Thank you, Randy. Mike.
Yes.
You mentioned that you chair the Small Business Development Committee. And you talked about the number of job openings across the state of Georgia. We know primarily COVID hit our metropolitan areas the hardest. The impact was great. What has the impact been in our rural to more suburban areas?
Well, to answer your question, obviously in the metropolitan areas, there's a larger concentration of people, but also in the rural areas. I mean, the schools shut down, the hospitals were operating at more than capacity to deal with the issues. Small businesses, and I'm going to speak mostly for Sumter County right now, small businesses were closed. Clothing stores, jewelry stores, you name it, they were closed. The garages, even though they were deemed essential, they became appointment only. So you called and made an appointment. So it was, the pain was spread pretty much evenly throughout the state. It was a challenge. I can say from a personal perspective, I'm glad I live in rural Georgia. I think we were better able to deal with it on a personal level. And I'm speaking from the quote unquote psychological aspects of isolation. We tend to have more social support in the rural areas because the families are closer than they do in the metropolitan area. So it was at least from my perspective, it was better. From the nursing home perspective, that was a huge challenge because the staff members were being exposed and bringing it into the residents of the nursing homes. And in my area, we've got Magnolia Manor, we've got the Plains Nursing Home, we've got Perfect Care. So we had several nursing home facilities. And I'm going to brag a little bit about Tommy Carden, one of America's natives, who's Adjutant General of the Georgia National Guard. He took his hazmat unit and dealing with hazardous materials and retooled them and retrained them using CDC guidelines and went out at the instructions of our governor to all the nursing home facilities and decontaminate them on a regular basis. And I can't remember the numbers, but their program was so effective. They were recognized nationally and duplicated nationally for what we needed to do to protect our seniors. So in my opinion, I think the rural communities fared a little bit better than the urban areas, but that's because we're used to it. We kind of roll up our sleeves and put our boots on and get to work. And so I'm actually quite proud of all our districts, Gerald's, Knowles, Bob, Bill Yurda's. I mean, all of our districts in this part of the state for how we dealt with the issue.
Excellent. Thank you, Mike.
Sure.
Did we get Bill back?
Now you're gonna have to unmute yourself, Mr. Yurda. One more time.
And we got Patty too.
And it looks like we've got Representative Bentley.
Great.
All right, can you hear me?
Yay! Yes.
Sorry about that. I was trying to work. I'm at the Capitol and I was trying to do it on my Capitol computer, which I'm not sure if it's hooked up for Zoom or not, but I got on my personal computer. Sorry for the delay.
That's fine.
Thank you for hosting this today, and it's a pleasure to be with you guys. And I just want to say what it is a pleasure to serve with my distinguished colleagues, Patty Bentley, Noel Williams, Mike Chokus, and Gerald Green. And I tell you, these folks do a great job for our region, and it's great to have good leadership coming from South Georgia and that make a difference in our state. And I just appreciate them. I'm kind of new. This is my second year. I serve on the Banks and Banking Committee. I serve on the Agricultural Committee, and I also serve on Economic Development, Tourism, Intergovernmental Coordination, and also Small Business Development, which Mike Chokus chairs. And I want to thank Mike for the job and the leadership he's done. And he's done a great job this year with the Small Business Committee. And it's been very informative, and we've some good legislations come out of that committee also that help small businesses in the state. But you guys pretty well stole my thunder. You mentioned about the issues in South Georgia, and certainly one of the biggest issues that we continue to address is broadband, and certainly the pandemic did bring that to light. Everything from healthcare to education to just doing your business from home, and that is one of the priorities of the legislature. The legislature this year put in the budget an additional $10 million to address broadband issues. And this is certainly seed money that will help. And I happened to be at a meeting Friday. Sumter EMC was hosting that. They're looking at broadband, and certainly I appreciate what the EMCs have done in the state to step up to the plate to try to address the broadband issues that face our state in rural areas. And, you know, it's much like what they did in the 30s to provide electricity to the residents. You know, everybody deserves good broadband, and it's just essential these days to have that for healthcare and certainly education, as we witnessed recently. And again, I want to thank those folks for stepping up. And, you know, it's going to be a partnership. It's going to be a partnership with private business, public, you know, and you know, I think we can solve this problem. It's going to take some years to do it, but I feel very confident we can solve that problem. And you know, I think that's good for our region. People can work from anywhere now, and I think that will help us grow in our region. And I'm real bullish about what we can do in the future with broadband. Certainly, economic development is a big issue in South Georgia. I think we're doing pretty well in the state of Georgia and Southwest Georgia. Businesses seem to be picking up. We've taken a hit like everybody else. Certainly, I'm a small business person and know very well what a difference last year and this year. Things seem to be picking up. I think Mike mentioned that sales tax revenues are up about 3%. Business taxes and personal income taxes are up. So that's a good sign the economy is moving. And I want to thank Speaker Ralston and Governor Kemp for getting our economy back opened. And I think we've done better than most states. And, you know, I think Noel mentioned that we're for 7 or 8 years in a row, we've been named the best state to do business. And, you know, when you do that, you attract people from all over the country, and we can grow and increase business and have those jobs that people dearly need. And we can also work together regionally to do these jobs. You know, one county, you know, people don't think twice about driving 30 or 40 miles, which might turn into an hour or an hour and a half drive in the metro area. So, you know, if Crisp County lands an industry, that's good for all this region. And, you know, if it's Worth County or Lee County or wherever, you know, that can attract people from all over the region. So I think the key to economic development is working together regionally. And this is how we can do it to increase our jobs. Certainly agriculture will continue to be important to our area. I serve on the Ag Committee, and that's something I'm proud to be on, and ag is still the #1 industry in Georgia. And it's certainly the #1 industry in South Georgia. And we couldn't survive. Every business, including mine, is affected by how well agriculture is doing. Ag's been through some tough times with hurricanes, droughts, and other adversities with prices, commodity prices, but hopefully things are looking up this year and prices seem to be better on some commodities. Hopefully we'll have a good growing season and have a strong ag year. I think the pandemic showed us how important the supply chain issues are. And, you know, it's great that we can, to me, look for Georgia grown products. And that's something I try to do. My wife actually bought some sheets the other day that were actually Georgia grown cotton. And some growers have gotten together and formed a company that provides sheets. So it's just, we can look for things to improve our local economy, and, you know, not think about Amazon every time. Try to do it locally and support the local businesses and Georgia grown. And I think we'll all prosper from that. Again, it's great to serve the state of Georgia and District 152. And I appreciate you asking me to be with you today.
Thank you. And Randy, last but not least, let's State Representative Patty Bentley to introduce herself, and welcome.
Patty?
Representative Bentley, you'll have to unmute yourself, ma'am. There you go.
All righty, great. Save the best for last.
Yes.
Good afternoon, River Valley. So good to see all of you, all of my colleagues in the House of Representatives. It's so great to be out of Atlanta. I was so glad to get back to God's country where there's plenty of nets and hot sun. I was glad to get out the city. But I just thank you all for the invitation to share this afternoon, and later this evening I'll be down in Sumter County, down in Booger Bottom, for an event down there. So I'm on the road again. I feel like a truck driver most days. So, and I know we have a shortage of truck drivers in the state right now. Maybe I need to consider that. But I just want to just add on to what my colleagues have already said. You know, they touched on a lot of things related to rural Georgia and economic development and agriculture, and all of that is very, very important. But I just want to kind of talk a little about where we still are in this country, and we're still in a pandemic. COVID-19 has not gone away. Things are improving, yes, but I just want to remind everyone that it's still here, and let us please get vaccinated if you have not done so. Let us remember to still get tested. It's not a lot of talk now about testing. I think we need to still be mindful that we should be tested to ensure that we don't have this virus, because I know firsthand how devastating this COVID-19 virus could be, because my husband is still in the hospital in Santa and has been in a hospital bed since December 20th. And so you don't know how this virus is going to attack your body and how it's going to leave your body afterwards. And in the state of Georgia, we have plenty of hospitals. Of course, several have closed down, but we still have many. But we don't have very many nursing homes that can accommodate people, patients dealing with the after effects of COVID. And that is something that we really need to pay a lot of attention to, put a lot of focus on. And I wanted to discuss these things just to bring awareness to our local officials and to my state colleagues. But as you are maneuvering through your cities, your counties, and your area of River Valley, please continue to encourage your constituents, our constituents, to get vaccinated and to get tested, continue getting tests to make sure that they are safe and their families are safe, because I would hate to see another family have to go through all that I've been going through since December. But again, I'm just proud to serve the good folks of House District 139, which includes Taylor, Macon, Dooley counties of River Valley, and I serve on the Higher Education Committee, State Retirement, Agriculture and Consumer Affairs, and so many more. My battery is getting low, so I want to go ahead and speed this up, but so many more committees that I proudly serve on, and just really proud. Here recently, I was the commencement speaker for Middle Georgia State University for their commencement ceremony that was held recently. They had 5 different ceremonies to protect the students and the families so they could have in-person celebration in person. And of course, we're so proud to have Fort Valley State University in our district as well. And Fort Valley just had their commencement, spring commencement this past Saturday on the football field, and it was a wonderful occasion. So thank you all again for the invitation to be a part of this roundtable. And I look forward to hearing more about what we're going to do together to move River Valley forward. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Randy?
Representative Green said one of the key issues is everybody working together in the regions. And I think one of the best projects we ever had was the TIA program, the Transportation Investment Act. And you know, this year we got the opportunity, the 16 counties coming together to re-vote on this. So it looks like we were right back in hoping and praying that the votes were passed and the counties would support us on this investment so we can start back over. That's probably been one of the most favorite programs, and that have been the most successful programs I think we've ever had throughout these 16 counties. Everybody's benefited, anybody from no matter who, what race or what salaries. You know, we got roads paved now. Some of my county was never been paved 40 or 50 years have been now taken care of. And I've seen improvements throughout the state of Georgia with the House Transportation Act. I know even during the COVID, I still saw road work going on. And I want to thank y'all for that, what you did. But also too, let you know that this is coming up again for us next year. And we're hoping that our 16 counties will come together and work together as a region and pass this TIA for us. We hope so very much. But I just want to make you aware of that. This year is a very important year for us. And if elections probably be, hopefully it'll be in March. Maybe that right, Farrell?
We're going to discuss that next week, Randy. You
I
know,
hope it is.
chair that, so
That's one of the most successful regional programs I've seen for us in this area. Ariel, you got a question?
Yes. And this is for anyone who would like to jump out and tackle this. Gerald mentioned regional cooperation, and being in Georgia's second smallest county, Georgetown, Quitman County, since we're now a unified government, we know that we will not be able to exist without the assistance of our neighboring counties. With the Rural Development Council, will there be any possible legislation in the future that will allow us to dig a little deeper and possibly be able to share some additional county services amongst ourselves? We already have 911 authorities between counties. Clay and Quitman are together. Randolph wants to come back to us. We're working on a possible broadband consortium after Mike meeting with Sumter EMC on Monday in Cuthbert. So we're looking at putting Webster, Randolph, Clay, Quitman, and Stewart together, possibly bringing in Calhoun County to tackle that issue, because collectively all of our funds can go further together than if we stood alone. But are there any other areas that any of you think possibly legislation can help us in the future? And I might get into constitutional stuff. I think every county needs to have a sheriff, but when you have small counties, do I have to have 4 different clerks of Superior Court by any chance?
Any representatives any representative have any comments on that? All right, there is one concern that's came up a couple of times in this. Can you hear me? There's one concern that came up several times over the last couple of years, and that is the Fort Benning They are trying to enlarge, maybe taking in some of the property in these surrounding counties. And same way with the wildlife preservation or reserves. The thing is, when you take away something, sometimes the counties don't have no more tax dollars, no tax base. And that's been a real concern. Is there some way the state or federal, I know there's been some talk about doing some more things before Benny, but y'all taking territory in the Marion County, some in Stewart and Webster and on, so on. So we'd like to know, I don't know if you can wear some of the things going on, but I just want to make sure that, remember when you take away the tax base, I mean, the people who still live there got to pay higher taxes, or we do out certain services. So that's where, just like the intermodal is very important. We work hard with intermodal and some other expense. And I just want to input on that from y'all.
Well, yeah, Randy, thank you. That's a very, very important topic, especially for me with Chattahoochee County, because Fort Benning, represents the majority of the property in Chattahoochee County, and they don't pay any taxes. And in other communities where you've got a large military presence, they have payments in lieu of taxes to the communities. And I was brought into that conversation the first year I was elected. Unfortunately, that's a federal issue, and we've been unsuccessful at gaining any additional monies and resources. Now, on dealing with the, I know what you're talking about, the conservatories and so forth and so forth. We've been very narrow in our focus. Richard Royal was the one that designed that legislation. Richard's from Camilla. And so, that's very narrow in focus on what can and cannot be done. And then there's also, a penalty if they bring it out. So it's been a challenge. I know it's been a challenge for rural communities. I don't see at this time any changes. And Gerald, Bill, Noel, Patty, if y'all see something as far as as that is concerned, please share.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, I don't really see any changes. Certainly the conservation programs do benefit our agricultural industry. But keeping that in mind, every time you change the tax revenue stream to benefit, that does put the burden on others. So as the legislature, we certainly have to be careful in making sure that, our taxes are equitable and that we don't get into a situation where counties cannot afford to exist and provide their services. So it's very important we look at that, but I don't really see any changes in the future of the conservation program. I think it's a good program. And it was designed to prevent, the agricultural folks from bearing the brunt of, the property taxes in the respective counties. So I certainly understand that. But again, we have to be very cognizant and make sure any tax policy that we prescribe does not disadvantage others.
Mr. Carvel, you have any question?
Yes. Let's go back to economic development. Mike has talked about rural Georgia being a great place to live, and I echo that sentiment. And looking at our River Valley region, we do have a somewhat rural community across the 16 counties. Are there going to be any efforts to assist small business owners in relocating or leaving the city to come to our area, or some of our residents to create small businesses of their own? Has there been any additional talks of funding or do that?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. As chairman of small business development, we had 3 major proposals that not only affect the state as a whole, but will also be a benefit for rural Georgia. And I'm proud that Bill Yurda is one of my subcommittee chairmen, and he championed some education reform legislation dealing with educating our youth on personal finance, on business, on all types of things. And Bill, I'll let you talk about that in a minute. But House Bill 611 that we passed, the number one thing we did was small business as defined by the state is 300 employees or less and $30 million in annual sales. Well, in the state procurement process, we decided to tier that. And so now tier 1 is 10 employees or less with $1 million in annual sales. Tier 2 is 100 employees or less with 10 million in annual sales. And tier 3 is 300 employees or less with 30 million in annual sales. Well, when we look down to the procurement, which is where our tax dollars buy goods and services from the citizens of Georgia, all the monies were going to that tier 3 category. The smaller businesses were not getting any. So now with the tier in place, it was passed and signed by the governor, on any type of procurement, we'll be able to laser focus on specific industries and for specific businesses rather, all over the state. And that's a good thing. That's going to bring dollars to the rural part of the state. It's going to bring dollars to smaller businesses. The other thing that we did was we defined startup. We're one of the first states in the nation to define a startup. As you know, entrepreneurship is it's the fuel that runs small business. It's the fuel that runs economic development. It's the fuel that creates jobs. That individual that has an idea and wants to work towards that idea, we need to encourage him or her and give them opportunities. Dovetailing on that, I had a conversation with the governor. The governor, through the success of being the #1 state in the nation, it is Noel and Bill both referred to, it will probably be the 9th year in a row. Governor Kemp wants to make us the #1 state in the nation for small business. And so we're going to be focusing on adding initiatives for those startup companies. And those startup companies can be anywhere. With broadband, they can be in rural, they can be in urban, they can be in coastal, they can be in the mountains, they can be all over the state. And that's what we want to do with that. And we're looking forward to populating incentives for those innovative new startup companies. And then the last thing that we did this year, and as I said, we didn't have enough time to get deeper into it, but one of the issues that entrepreneurs face is the licensing and the numbers and the applications and this and that and the other. We got the Department of Community Affairs and what they were, not community affairs, I'm sorry, I'll think of it in a minute. But anyway, they are going to be responsible for getting all the numbers needed. If you need a number from the Department of Labor, from the Department of Revenue, any of the other, from Secretary of State, any of those types of numbers, the Department of Administrative Services, with a former representative Atwater who's in charge of that, he will be a one-stop shop. You contact his office, you say you want to start a business, you need some assistance, and he will make it happen. So we are trying to develop fertile soil to grow our small business. And as we know from economic development activities, the smaller businesses can grow and prosper in the rural area, and we can attract more. And having more small businesses also protects us from shutdowns. And I know that Americus was devastated when Textron closed. And they had 500, 600, 700 employees, and when they closed down, it hurt, and it hurt for several years. But if we've got 10 or 20 small businesses with anywhere from 10 or 20 employees, we'll be better able to weather any future storms. And so I see that as a focus in our area. I see that as a focus in my committee. And I see that as a bright future for our rural areas. We can be, with broadband, as Randy was talking about earlier, we can be anywhere, not only in the state or the nation, but in the world, communicating, providing goods and services all over the world. And I heard this the other day that the Port of Savannah provides access to 10% of the imports come through the Port of Savannah. And so we're in a good position. We're laser focused on small business, and we're going to see some good continued good activities in that area, and that's going to bring employment.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone else wanted to chime in? But no, I'd go back. I'm sorry. I think you wanted your subcommittee chair to weigh in on something that you mentioned.
Have some bragging rights on the legislation you passed this year.
Can I unmute, Representative?
Thank you, Mike. The legislation was actually originated as House Bill 61. It was on personal financial literacy. It was requiring the schools to teach a course in financial literacy, which in a small business committee was direly needed. We recognize the need for that, and it helped the students that don't necessarily get that background at home to learn to open a checking account, to balance checking account, money management, credit card, investments, the importance of having a good credit rating, and just, even to go into post-secondary financial planning for college or something like that. So many kids graduate with, a high level of student debt, and, I think that's something that could be addressed also. But the bill actually passed the House actually twice and went to the Senate, and it passed over there and then came back with an amendment. So it actually didn't quite make it to the finish line, unfortunately. So there was a little floor amendment that kept it from the governor's desk, but it was a friendly amendment. It was on sine die and didn't quite make it back to the House. I think we ran out of time, but certainly we're going to push that bill forward, and it's a good bill. And it honestly, it passed almost unanimously in both houses in the first form, and you'll see it back this year. And I think it's going to be very important for our students in the 10th and 11th grade to learn financial literacy and how important it is to maintain good credit. It's so important to have good credit these days, to be able to borrow money, to be able to buy a house, to be able to buy transportation, and even to get a job. Employers look at credit ratings, even insurance looks at credit ratings. So it's very, very important to have that financial background that you might not necessarily get at home, and to learn the basics of even opening a business. And Mike was talking about small business, and we might have first entrepreneurs in a family, so that is special, and certainly we need to. Small business, like Mike said, is the backbone of our country and our state, and that's where the majority of the jobs are. And we need to promote that. And I think this will give a background to those students to do that. And hopefully we can get it through the finish line this coming year.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I guess I'm thinking myself because when I was a student and ran.
One of these days, we're gonna figure out this system. I hope we get rid of it and go back to meeting in person, but I gotta say one thing. I totally agree with you about, you talk about. Hope you can hear me this time. Can you, Representative? Can you hear me okay? Yeah, they.
She muted us.
Yes, I can hear you. This Patty Bentley.
Hear you.
Representative Uri, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, I commend you on that, for what you just talk about, introducing how to learn about how to really look like and deal with, credit and all that stuff. Back when I was in high school, I had a choice there to take a calculus course and trigonometry, and I decided that wouldn't me. And I took the business administration. And I tell you what, Dr. Sawyer there, he taught us how to write checks, to do liabilities, account receivables. We had to do invoices. We knew all about, we have here about businesses. And you know what, to this day, I remember everything we did there. It got me through life and helped me out every day. And I think you got to have that stuff. It's just, no matter what you do, where you go to college, university, whatever, you got to have that good business mind, good business sense, what's going on out there, and how to be a respectable and I say accountable citizen. I appreciate and commend you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. So true.
Mr. Carwell, you have anything else?
Let's see. I think that's covered everything that I have an interest in. We might find out from each of our representatives is anything else they would like to share with our members of the River Valley region, or any possible upcoming legislation that they're going to work on next year.
I'd like to share a couple of things very quickly. And we were talking about small business, but if you look at the state representatives, we are small business. All of us are small business owners. We all create jobs. We all know what it's like. We know what our payroll taxes are. We all know what our licensing requirements are. So it's something that not only affects our region, but affects us personally. And then the second thing, Gerald was talking about the region and how we need to look at the whole region. We do that, and I'm going to compliment my colleagues on a number of occasions, and it's more often than not, there'll be legislation that comes up, and we all vote in unison without even discussing it. I mean, we'll come out later. How'd you vote on that? I voted on that. We're all, it's almost like a mindset that we all work together. Even though we're not talking about it, we all work together on a regular basis and talk about the issues that we face. But I've got some of the best colleagues in the state, and I can't say enough good things about Gerald, Noel, Bill, Patty. I mean, and of course, Patty's the best looking one, but I cannot say enough of how thrilled I am, excited I am every day to go to work with these fine professionals.
Thank you.
Representative.
One thing I wanted to say, am I unmuted?
Yes, sir.
Okay, one thing I wanted to say is something that affects all of us. When Bill talked about Savannah and the port, widening 280, and I see it every day. And Chris, when I go across that bridge and go into Sumter County, see how we're widening or getting a 4-lane for 280. I think that's going to be big dividends for our whole area. You talk about from Savannah starting to ship materials, because that's going to be widening over there for 280 East, coming all across our state. And if it's not coming on the rail lines, it's coming on Highway 280. And by making that bigger, that's just going to help our area even more, I believe. And that's, state, that's federal, that's private, that's, kind of all three working hand in hand. That's all.
Well, I just have a comment that I like to make.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a comment to, again, just encouraging our local government officials that are in the River Valley region. This is the time of year all local governments going to be working on their budget. And I just want to thank all city and county government officials for how supportive they've been to their local health departments this past fiscal year. And I encourage them to continue that working relationship with your health departments, because as I mentioned earlier about COVID, during this pandemic, the health departments, the local health departments played a vital role of getting our local people tested and providing vaccination. So I just want to thank our local governments for their support to our local health departments and encouraging them to continue that. And I just wanted to say that because that's one of the committees that I serve on, is a special committee to access to quality healthcare. So I'm always, for the past couple of months, my mind has just been heavily on healthcare and just trying to pass awareness to people. Because as I stated in my earlier comment, I don't want to see another family have to go through all that I'm going through right now. But I'm so grateful to have colleagues like Gerald, Mike, Noel, and Bill. They all have been so supportive and excellent. And I was sharing with a local mayor here recently, as a member of the House of Representatives for 9 years now. It's like having a really big family. And when one member of the family is hurting, they all hurt and they all are very supportive. And at that time, there is no concern about what letter follow your name. It's about being supportive to our family members. So I'm so very grateful for the opportunity to serve in the House of Representatives. So thank you, House District 139. And thank you, River Valley.
Thank you, Representative Bentley. And I have to say, your family and my family are in the same business. So yeah. I definitely share your sentiment. I know that Randolph, Clay, and Quitman counties have all supported local health departments and made sure that our city and county workers have gotten vaccinated to protect not only themselves, but their families. So I definitely share the sentiment. And your family.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Who's next?
Representative Green.
Unmute.
Representative Green, you may have to hit *6 to unmute your phone.
There you go.
You should be good now, sir. Although you may have to unmute your phone your regular way to unmute your phone.
He said he was technologically challenged. I think he's a little better than that.
I really am. I really am. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
We have over 1,200 bills that were introduced in the House and the Senate. We had over 1,200 resolutions that have been introduced. A lot of those have not passed yet. There's still a lot of them sitting in committee. So it's going to be important to watch a lot of these pieces of legislation. And of course, next year, there'll be a lot more introduced. So there's a lot of bills to look at just over the interim here. And of course, we have reapportionment coming up, which is going to be important not only to the national government, but to the state and a local. The local counties and cities are going to have to go through reapportionment as well. So we'll be dealing with that. Maybe, I guess, colleagues in October or first of November, somewhere in there. And so we'll be back at the Capitol, and that's now we'll start looking at what the census did to us. And it did a number on us in South Georgia. We're going to lose some representation there. So we look forward to that, and thank y'all for everything you're doing. And we appreciate, Jim, what the commission means to our counties.
Thank you, sir. Randy, I'm gonna let, is that everyone?
I just want to echo what Patty said about the health departments and what a great job they have done getting the vaccines out in rural South Georgia. They did a marvelous job. It really, they went beyond the call of duty, worked overtime, many hours to get the vaccines out. As a matter of fact, in my local health department, Worth County, they had folks coming down from Atlanta to get shots. And I mean, they did a great job. At one point, they were pretty well all the medical care workers who got there were the first category to get those. So first line workers. So they had pretty well gotten all those folks, and it got to the point where they were only having about 10 a day coming in. So they called me and said, you know, we need to be giving shots to the over 65. And so I called the governor. I don't know if it did any good, but I know others did too. That's the kind of thing. In rural Georgia, we're different from the metro area. We had plenty of vaccines, and it just made sense for us to start vaccinating the over 65. And, you know, they did a great job in getting that message out and starting that process. And again, they did a wonderful job in getting people the vaccine. And my hat's off to them. And hopefully, you know, at budget time, like Patty mentioned, folks will remember that and know how important the health departments are to our local health care.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that. Randy, I'll let you have the final word, but I do want to let each of our panelists know that if you did not know, I am the 2nd Congressional District Representative on the Technical College System of Georgia State Board. And I want to personally thank each of you for continuing to support technical education in Georgia, because it goes hand in hand with what we're talking about in terms of small business development being the #1 place in the country for people to work, and hopefully we'll be the #1 place in the country for small business development as well. So thank you all for that.
Boy, before we close, I want to say something that, you know, if I grew up, they always told me that ag and railroad what made this country great. And as you travel across these little small communities, you see these little depots and these little stop places where you used to let people ride rail lines. And was brought up, you know, working together a heck of a lot. Representative Chokin worked with us several years ago on the CAFO feeding, which was held up by EPA, and working with him and working with our local groups here, as well as working with Conservation, we were able to remove that CAFO feeding operations. And just to that day, Adams Dairy down here has been really expanding. It helps our hog farmers, it helps our poultry farmers, just people sitting down listening and getting it to work. So I appreciate what y'all do on the ag committee, which also too brings up one thing. Somewhere down the line, you'll be getting a call from Matt Moore and Chip Jones from Stewart County. They want to represent Noah, and they want to see if they can get the Sam short line to go into Stewart County, which we had to pass through Webster. They're looking for that. They got vision, they are creative, they're looking for ideas, anything to create tourism, business, any type of income for their community. So they're reaching out for help. Now to do that, it's very costly, and they know that, but somewhere in the near future, I'd like to set our time up with y'all so y'all can sit down with them and let them express their concerns. Anything else, Carville?
That's it, sir.
Tim, you have anything else?
I don't have anything on our end. I will remind everybody that we've recorded the whole session. We will put it up on our website. We are going to edit this down to cut out some of the blank spaces here, but we'll edit it down. You all were more than welcome to join us on our legislative meeting. It's going to be a combination of live and recorded next Wednesday, 10:30.
Thank you, everyone.
As we close now, I don't think words can express our sincere thanks enough for what y'all have gone through, especially this past year with the COVID and trying to get legislature and you can't meet together like you used to, or face to face, and all this telephone and Zooming and whatever it is you can get. It's been beyond my capacity sometimes trying to figure out what button to hit and what not to touch. But I want to say thank y'all. You know, that's a tough job you have. It's a full-time job in the part-time status, and you're wanting 24 hours a day. And I know working with my representatives through the years is you're working all the time, taking phone calls all the time. So we just want to say thank you, but especially taking time out of your busy schedule today to spend a few minutes with us. And we're looking forward to you meeting with us anytime you can. You know, the light's always on the porch. You can always come over. We'll set a plate out for you, but come to our River Valley meeting sometimes. And we appreciate you doing that and appreciate what you do for us every day.